Wow, what a fight that was. I still can't believe that fight I saw last night. It's just crazy fight. Um, Loved the whole thing between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. It was just it's edge of your seat kind of boxing. It's just tremendous. And it was actually a very good night of boxing overall. The other fights that were on, but this just topped it. I felt, a heavyweight clash between two heavyweight titans going at it, and it's exactly what you want. But yeah, let me just break down the fight and give you my thoughts. That's why I wanted to do this video, and let you know what I thought of the fight. So, I guess round one, going into it, Wilder looked very good. I felt he was going to the body of Fury, and Fury looked a bit awkward, have to admit. He was kind of lowering his guard, which was kind of making me nervous for Fury. He was kind of dropping his hands every now and again. Wilder would jab to the body, or even do the 1-2 to the body a couple of times. And he did look a little bit, nervous or not too sure, which was kind of concerning me at first. I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen here? However, the other thing I noticed was he just looked so heavy with those shots. He was throwing huge jabs to the body, like big, heavy jabs. And, obviously Wilder had beefed up for this fight, his heaviest he's been. And, it took a lot of him. Even that first round, you could tell he struggled. And I guess in terms of Fury, as much as he was looking a bit awkward, I think obviously, he has obviously not boxed since the last fight with Wilder, but I think he's they just probably wanted to check him out just to see what Wilder was up to, what he was, what he was kind of planning and doing, what was his tactics, and that obviously they identified that pretty early on. And then second round, they came out, Fury started clipping Wilder with some good shots, and Wilder was kind of still dangerous, but quite. I think most people would have, edged it to Tyson Fury, if I'm being honest. And yeah, he did very well in terms of that. And then obviously the third round came up, and yeah, he managed to get the first knockdown against Wilder, which was fantastic. I think it was a right hook, as far as I remember. So knocked him down, and kind of the bell kind of saved him in the end. And then at that point. And maybe this is just because Fury's been out the ring for a while. He smelt blood. He wanted to just take him out in that next round. And he just got a little bit careless and just kind of went for the gamble as well to try and take him out. And at that point, Wilder still, as much as he looked tired and was buzzed from that knockdown, Fury, took the chance. And unfortunately, he got hit by that huge right hand from Wilder. And even the knock, with Fury, he kind of took, as soon as he got buzzed, it's like he knew, if I need to take a dive here just to kind of reset my balance or whatnot. He kind of dives after he gets hit. It's quite interesting if you watch it again. And yeah, and then he obviously gets back up. Fury goes for it and then manages to get him down again with that. I think he holds him and then hits him. It happens in boxing. And clubs him in the side of the head, Wilder, and Fury goes down for the second time, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I thought, at that point, I actually thought Wilder might actually be able to pull this off. And of course, this is where you have to give credit to Fury. After that, he came back into the fight and really just went on to dominate the rest of the fight, in my opinion. Wilder had moments where he managed to hit Fury, but Fury, he didn't really get tired. If anything, he grew into the fight, whereas Wilder didn't. But I think that it was more that first knockdown for Wilder really buzzed him. And like I said, in my prediction video, that Wilder would definitely try to do something different, but then would obviously resort back to what he does best, and that's looking for that right hand to land, or one of those wild hooks he throws. And yeah, it's frustrating for him, I think clearly he was buzzed, and that's what I mean, he would have maybe kept continuing to target the body throughout the fight, but because he was hurt, he went into survival mode almost, which is a shame. So, but you have to give the credit to Fury, he kept pushing the fight after that, and he'd obviously get clipped every now and again. The inside work, he was using his body weight again against him. And Wilder was just so tired, he couldn't, really handle Fury on the inside at all. And it was a huge issue. It really was for Wilder. He really struggled. And then obviously, going into I think it was the 8th round in Sugar Hill to Tyson Fury. And this is something I noticed as well, was that Wilder, at one point, he wasn't really jabbing. He was just looking to land hooks or that right hand or fight or kind of punch in the inside. He wasn't throwing the jab anymore. And Sugar Hill, went a bit mental at Tyson Fury to start throwing that jab. Because if you think about it, Wilder wasn't jabbing at all. So that leaves the opening. He wasn't jabbing back at all, really, when Fury was throwing punches. So that left the openings for Fury to attack him with the jab. And as soon as he came out after, Sugar Hill gave him that grilling, he was constantly clubbing Wilder with the jab. And you have to give credit to Sugar Hill for that. I think that was really the turning point in terms of going on to take out Wilder, if I'm being honest, because that led up to him getting closer on the inside with the jab and even setting up his other shots. That was absolutely key in the victory for the rest of the fight. And yeah, I think it's, that the 2 knockdowns, and I think the first and the 10th, it was kind of a defensive maneuver from Tyson Fury, and then he clubbed him with the right hand on the side, on the temple, I think, and he went down. And then obviously the next round, Fury knew he had his number and just went all out to get him. And Wilder took so many shots, ridiculous. And you gotta worry, like after you take a beating like that mentally and physically, but that's on his corner. Maybe they should have taken him out. And it makes you think back to Mark Breland throwing in the towel. This is exactly why he did it. So something like this wouldn't happen. You just gotta hope he's okay. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. For both guys now, Tyson Fury is without a doubt the number 1 heavyweight. And you have to consider he's probably one of the top guys pound for pound now as well, just a tremendous performance. He really grew into the fight, and that's what I liked. He looked obviously a bit hesitant at the start just because of what Wilder was doing going to the body, but then he kind of, worked him out pretty much. And it was just a beatdown, really, and it was just, the fact he managed to come back from those 2 knockdowns, you gotta give the guys due. Could you see someone like Joshua do that, Usyk do that against Wilder? I can't see them taking his power. I just think Tyson Fury's made a different gravy. The guy's heart is exceptional, and yeah, just a tremendous performance. And the world's his oyster now, really. I think obviously the Joshua rematch with Usyk, they've got to fight it out, but that's the fight you want to see. You want to see him fight the winner for Undisputed. Obviously, if it's Joshua, it'll be a much bigger fight, I think. But I think the Usyk fight is someone who likes the sweet science. I'd be fascinated to see that fight, to see how they both approach it, because Usyk would be a lot harder for Fury to tie down, and this is the thing, Usyk can actually box in the back foot, whereas Wilder can't, and that's how Fury is able to tie him up so much and hit him. Usyk would be moving all night, and would be able to adapt, and probably would be targeting that body a lot more. And he's a southpaw. However, I still think Fury, it's just the physicality of Fury would be able to get someone like Usyk. And then Joshua, you can't compare Joshua and Tyson Fury, really, can you? Um, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there with Tyson Fury, and maybe it'll be the winner of White Ottawala first he faces. Either way, I'm excited to see his next fight, to see just something a bit different. See how he progresses as a fighter now. And yeah, it'll be interesting. In terms of Wilder, I really don't know now. Part of me says maybe it's time for him to just, hang up the gloves. But at the same time, I still think he could. I'd still like to see him challenge some of the other guys in the division, like so White, Ruiz, Anthony Joshua, or Usyk even. Because I think, if anything, now he needs to prove that he isn't just some dosser, as Tyson Fury says. He needs to go out and actually prove to the world that he is actually a good heavyweight, and he can beat these other guys. And maybe if he was to beat those guys, he might get the rematch with Fury. I don't think it will ever happen again. I think that's it, unfortunately for Wilder. But you just don't know. Yeah, I feel I'm mixed about Wilder. I think mentally he's just a guy that is not right after that second defeat, really, and it's a shame. Even the sportsmanship after the fight, he didn't really want to have anything to do with Fury. And it is what it is. It's these guys have massive egos. They can't do that in some cases. And that's just who they are as people. You can't change that. But I think a bit of respect would have been appreciated. Especially the war or the wars they've been through in these last 3 fights. And I think, yeah, he's just met his number. He's met his match. And he didn't really stand a chance in the end. However, he'll always have that dynamite power, and you can never look past him for that. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the fight. I'd love to know your thoughts as well. Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it as well. It was just fast. It was just a fascinating fight. And I loved every single moment of it. On that note, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.